Hello, I'm Kimberley Dondo, Digital Content Manager, and welcome to the In Conversation With series, a series where I speak to notable figures in the realm of financial services. Listen as they share their personal journeys, thoughts on the industry, and advice for aspiring advisors. And welcome to the Money Marketing Podcast. And today I have Jade Shelton with me, who will give a better introduction of herself. So go ahead, Jade.
So, hi everyone. My name is Jade, and I'm a trainee financial planner here at Proposito. We're based in the heart of the Cotswolds, so a beautiful countryside area, which is amazing. I've been in the financial services profession for 9 years.
Okay.
So I started out my journey as sort of an office junior kind of role. So right at the beginning, really. And I have kind of worked my way up to where I am now, which is, so I'm qualified as a financial planner, but I'm kind of in that transition period between being sort of completely client facing on my own, and still kind of undertaking a lot of the sort of behind the scenes sort of technical things that we do here. So yeah, that's where I am currently at the moment.
Okay, awesome. So how did you kind of find out about financial services? Because it seems, just from looking at like your background, like something that you kind of went straight into from graduating from university, right? So how did you find out about that?
So to be honest, I didn't know. And this is obviously part of what I'd like to kind of do going forward, is that I don't think there's really a lot of education around this area. And I didn't really know it existed as a profession. So when I came out of university, so I did sport and exercise science, which is not correlated at all. And my sort of dream growing up was to be a PE teacher. That's kind of what I wanted to do. Then I realized sort of halfway through my degree that actually, no, that's not what I wanted to do. But I wanted to finish my degree. And so when I came out, I was working in hotels, just sort of hospitality area. And that was something that wasn't going to fit with me long term, just purely because I'm quite a routine and structured person. And obviously that sort of role isn't really like that. So I was just searching around, looking for jobs. And I got offered this opportunity to work for an IFA firm. At the time, I didn't know what that was. But I thought I'm willing to learn, like I'm open to learning a new area. And so, yeah, I took the role as just an administrator, and it's kind of just evolved since then, really.
Yeah, I love that. I think I don't know anyone who's actually followed through with their undergrad degree, apart from people who went to do like medicine or something like that. Those are the only people that stuck to that career. Everyone seems to have just like gone on different paths, and I find that very interesting. But going back to you saying that you weren't aware of like financial services or financial advice as a profession, what do you think needs to be done so that like school leavers and graduates are made aware of it? Because again, I didn't know about it until the job that I'm doing now. Now I'm aware. But what are your thoughts on that?
So I think that it definitely needs to be brought in to schools. So I do think that now at sort of open days, they are bringing in financial planning professions and financial service professions into those days to kind of promote the profession. But I really do think they need to start drilling into it in schools and just making people aware of all of these areas that are going to impact them as they grow up.
Right.
Because everyone wants to buy a house, everyone wants to save, everyone wants to budget, everyone wants to do all these things, but they just don't have any information at that age. And, taxes, everybody gets taxed,
Yeah.
but nobody learns about it. And it just seems mad that we don't learn about all of these things that impact us as we grow up and sort of make our place in the world. So I definitely think it needs to start being spoken about more at that age, whilst they're sort of stepping into figuring out what they want to do with their lives. Because this could be an area that somebody's really interested in, like they have a desire for it, but they just don't really know it's there.
Yeah. Yeah. That is true. I think you don't know what your possibilities or capabilities are until you're made aware of them, I think. So I think it is very important for younger people, especially as like while they're still in school and making those decisions, to be made aware. But your experience, you've been doing this, you've been in financial services for 9 years.
Yeah.
That's quite a long time to stick to something, especially, someone who is, I'm going to say millennial. I'm gonna guess you're a millennial. And millennials are stereotypically thought to never stick to something for very long. They do something for 2 years and then they move on. What is it about this financial services that made you think, I want to stick with this? This is something that's for me.
I think, yeah. So when I first started, obviously I really didn't know much about it at all. So I love learning and I love
Mhm.
kind of growing in that way. And so I kind of just got learning straight away in terms of just on the job. Like I didn't start any of my actual training until 2019.
Okay.
And so I'd moved companies. So I've been at 2 companies so far. And I just started like learning about it really. And I think that I just kind of really enjoyed it. And I
Mhm.
think there's a lot that can be said about this profession in terms of how it can really help people as they grow. And I definitely believe that this is where I'm supposed to be now.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that I realized that at quite a young age has been lucky, really.
Yeah.
I've been very fortunate to be in the position that I am. Um, but yeah, I just find it really fascinating. And obviously, the more that I've learned and the more that I've studied and the further and further I go, the more I think, yeah, this is definitely for me.
And what would you say in terms of the training? What would you say are kind of the challenges that you have faced while you've been training as a financial planner?
So the challenges really are around and this probably goes out to younger people who probably have more of a social life than I do. um, and it's just understanding that nothing comes easy and that to get to where you want to be you have to make sacrifices. And this is a lot of work. Like the diploma level is a lot of work, and you have to learn to manage your time. You have to learn to say no to things, because ultimately it's just a small period of time,
Yeah.
and then once you get to that, then the only way is up really from there. But you just need to kind of understand that you need to like put this time aside, do the work, have a really good routine and structure in terms of studying. Everybody has a very different method and way of doing that. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's just whatever works for you. But just have a good routine, a good structure, good time management. And as long as you're passionate about it, then you're going to do well.
Yeah. And what skills would you say kind of work for someone who wants to be a financial planner? What skills have you got that you think translate well in your current role?
So I think these are all things that I don't like talking about myself. It's horrible. No, but I
No,
think
it's good occasionally just to
yeah.
have that self-validation.
Yeah, I think so I think I'm a good communicator, and that's
Mhm.
imperative in this role. You have to be able to communicate with people, and you have to be able to do that on quite a personal level,
Mm,
because sometimes you do get to those points where um people they do get emotional, and you have to be able to kind of adapt yourself to those situations. So definitely being a good communicator is one. I think just the willingness to learn
Mm-hmm.
is another. Being determined and accepting that not every day is going to be a wonderful day, but you can make it that way if you try. And that you will have days where you think, I mean, I still have them all the time where I feel like, oh, I'm just not good enough for this, or, there's people that are way better than me. But it's just understanding that you're here for a reason, and you've got to where you are because you've worked hard to get there.
Yeah.
And so you should always bear that in mind when you have those days. And I mean, I'm still learning that myself. But if I wanted to give that advice to someone else, I'd just make sure that they know that they're here, they got there themselves, they've done all of this themselves, they've worked really hard, and they should feel proud.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's that's very important to understand your skill set that you have and understand how that can translate. Because I think recently I was learning about like the soft skills that you have that you don't
Yeah.
think are important, but like communication, you think that it's just a normal human thing, but some people just naturally don't enjoy, that people facing, having those emotional relationships with people. They want to keep kind of that professional distance. Um, but also, I think I've heard something or read something recently where people were saying like being a financial planner is almost like being a counselor as well without the qualifications, because you are talking through people's family histories and dealing with all of these things. What How have you found that aspect of it? Is it overwhelming sometimes, or is it something that you think is easy to cope with?
So I think so. I've only so we do financial life planning here at Proposito. So we really delve into our main priority is what do people want out of life? Like, what are their goals? Like, what are their dreams? And then we kind of structure everything else around that. But that's kind of
Okay.
like the point that we want to get to with people.
Mhm.
And there's a whole like process behind that in getting to that point. And it can be tricky, but I feel like I'm just kind of at the beginning of that at the moment. But a lot of financial planners now are kind of going down like the coaching route as well, like getting a lot of coaching qualifications and learning about that, because it is heading in that direction
Yeah.
where it's more about the person as opposed to trying to, I don't know, sell a product. It's not about that anymore.
Mhm.
And I think that that's definitely the way it needs to go.
I like that that coaching part. I was actually talking to someone else yesterday, Rory, who is also a financial planner. He was talking about how maybe financial planning needs to go towards coaching because you'll see so many of these financial coaches who have no qualifications on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, sharing advice that they at the end say this isn't advice, but but they're kind of coaching people. So I think it is very important for kind of financial advisors to step up and be like, no, we actually have the qualifications, but we can also coach you in that aspect as well. So I think that, yeah, that's an important piece. But for you moving into this industry as a woman, how have you found it? How do you find it's changing? Do you find it encouraging? Like, what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are they might be quite controversial just because I personally have and this is probably because of all the women that have come before me,
Hmm.
but I personally have never really felt like affected by that side of it. But I understand that for some people, it has been extremely hard, especially when you go back sort of like 20, 30 years, when it was very difficult.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what that was like. But I think that now my response to it is that I just don't really pay attention.
Hmm.
So I don't look at myself and think, I'm female, I need to work extra hard to put myself out there, because I just think I'm just a human being, and so is the next person, and so is the next person. So I don't look at people as their genders. I look at them as, are you doing the right thing for people? And are you good at what you do? Because that is really what matters. It shouldn't really matter about whether we're male or female or anything. It's just irrelevant, as long as we're doing the right thing by our clients. And that's really what matters the most to me.
Yeah, that's very true and a very good point. So when it comes to kind of clients as well, there's always conversations around how advisors might be missing the mark by not having conversations with the wives, or not possibly targeting younger, less wealthy clients, potential clients. So i- in your company, is there a different approach that you're having to have that, to be able to kind of get those people who may feel underserved right now?
So I think most companies will have like a niche. So they will have an area in which they kind of specialize in. And I think that's quite important, because otherwise we could ultimately help everybody
Mm,
if we wanted to. But no company can help everybody, because you just couldn't possibly maintain that level
overwhelming.
of standard or service. So I think, yeah, we definitely try and, I mean, in terms of like spouses,
Mhm,
we include them together if they
mhm,
want to be
mm,
included together, then absolutely. But I mean, our sort of specialist area is like the at retirement space, so that is where we
right.
kind of put our time.
Mm,
But I know there are people coming through now that are targeting maybe the younger generation,
mhm,
and the people who are up, coming into their maybe 30s or 40s, and maybe even late 20s,
mhm,
where they are starting to get sort of this disposable income and trying to build habits and things like that. So there's people coming through which are targeting those age groups and those demographics.
mhm.
So I think that's amazing that that's happening. But like I said, we can't help everybody. And if we
Yeah.
could, we'd probably be superheroes. It's just
That
not
would be
possible.
lovely.
Yeah.
And now that you are kind of mostly dealing with at retirement, with the current climate, have you found any of your clients panicking, or or are you in such a great position where you foresaw this and they're just like, it's fine, we're fine, you know?
Yeah, so I think ultimately you're going to have people who are concerned about the current climate. That goes without saying. But I think because we see our clients every single year, every single one of them, and they know that we're always on the end of the phone, and we kind of approach those situations as they arise.
Mm-hmm.
But we communicate with our clients really well, so they get the reassurance that they need. So we don't have an awful lot of that, but of course we do get some. But I think that the way that we deal with that is the right way.
Mm, yeah. Yeah, I think maintaining that communication is probably the most important part
Yeah.
during this time, just so that no one gets too concerned.
No.
Um, so, what would your advice be for aspiring advisors, whether they're second careerists or if they're like coming straight out of uni and they've kind of found this with financial services? What would your advice be to those people?
Yeah. So my advice would be to really to understand how like each role works within a company.
Hmm.
So I started as as an administrator,
Hmm.
and administrators are so integral to the running of a business, and I don't think they're always regarded in that way, but I think that they are integral. And I think I felt a bit like that when I was an administrator. I felt as though I need to be better. I need to be better than this. But that's actually, as I've grown, I've realized that's absolutely not the case at all. And so I think starting in that place, and if you want to build on that, then that is the best way of doing it, because you learn about every single role within the business. And then you can go to sort of a paraplanner sort of role, and then get more involved in the technical work and the behind the scenes work, which again, no business can function without them. No financial planning business can function without administrators or paraplanners or financial planners. They're all needed to make the business run. So I think doing it that way would be a way that I would recommend it to people. Not everybody wants to do it that way. And I completely understand that. But that is the way that I would put forward to somebody, just because then you learn every step of the process and you get a more rounded overview of how your company works.
Yeah. And for you personally, where do you see yourself kind of taking this? I know this is quite an interview question. Like,
no,
where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? But yeah, where do you want to take your career as a financial planner?
So I would like to, so I'm doing my chartered training at the moment. So I'm studying for that. So I want to get to the point of being chartered, purely so I can be the best person that I can for my clients going forward. But I would also like to do a lot of the coaching side of it, and really understand that more, so that again I can serve people in the best way that I can. And then just around the education, I really want to educate people. So maybe that might be, I mean, I don't know how far ahead I'm looking here, but that might be stepping into schools, or that might be doing a few like talks in that area, or just trying to spread the words and just educate people of how they can start, what they can do, how they can get things moving for them, because they're going to be the future, aren't they? So that would be, that would be kind of where I'd want to go. But, baby steps.
Yeah, no, I like it. It's good to always have a plan, to see where you're going to go. But thank you so much, Jade, for talking to me. And I hope that everyone enjoyed it. I very much did. So thank you again. And we hope that you enjoyed this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to In Conversation With. We do hope that you enjoyed it. Please do keep up to date with all our new releases via Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcasts from. You can also keep up to date with all our new content published on the Money Marketing website, as well as our print edition Money Marketing magazine. So make sure to subscribe. Follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. See you next time.